Well, how fitting that this finally happened. I am finally in the perfect position to be in the world's worst movie theater because, as you can tell, I'm sick. Well, actually, I'm a lot better than I was last week after I did the last episode. But yeah, the last week has been really, really rough on me. I had a fever, and it's just like it just kind of ruined my week last week, and kind of in the last stages of the fever in particular. I still got the cough and the sore throat, but that's all going away slowly but surely. I'm in the final steps of finally getting back on track here, but fitting that I get to do one of these while I'm sick, and that's a good. And there's also another good thing about this is because I've actually talked about this movie recently. My 19th worst movie of all time, and it's one of the most insulting and downright offensive comedies ever made, and that is 2004's Soul Plane. The fact that anybody had a career after this movie is amazing. And several people from this movie did have prominent careers after this. And like I said before, I actually did talk about this recently on Time About the Movies a couple months ago. So because I'm still feeling a little under the weather, I'm going to let my healthier past self talk about this movie. And I will come back and wrap this up for you.
I don't know what you got in there, but we're going to find out. You want to say something? You want to say something?
Academy Award winner Monique, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, the greatest thing about this whole movie is the fact that this is a film that could have easily killed so many careers, and yet it actually helps some of these people out in general. But Soul Plane, this is another one of those movies that's in my list of the worst movies of all time, and quite frankly, it's kind of hard not to see why. I mean, we already had a year where we had the black equivalent to National Lampoon's Vacation. Now here's the black equivalent of Airplane. I guess you can pretty much tell what the plot of this movie is. Soul Plane. Why just fly when you can soar with soul? This is what MGM put out as the press synopsis for this movie, by the way. After a humiliating experience on an airplane, Nashawn Wade, played by Kevin Hart, sues the airline and is awarded a huge settlement. Determined to make good with the money, Nashawn creates the full-service airline of his dreams, complete with sexy stewardesses, funky music, a hot onboard dance club, and a bathroom attendant, played by D.L. Hughley. Departing from the all-new Terminal X in Los Angeles, a Soul Plane gives Fly a whole new meaning, taking his passengers on a maiden voyage full of comedy. Somebody at MGM greenlit this movie. MGM looked at this and said, this will totally sell. I mean, it will really sell. I mean, just everything about this movie is so wrong. And the fact that it's basically a black version of Airplane, but that it's also racist, not funny, and just downright stupid. Nothing about this movie makes any sense whatsoever. This is just an unspeakably awful movie on so many levels. It really does feel like a good majority of this movie was written by people who simply have seen the black stereotypes and decided, let's just make an entire movie just on that. You know, let's put the black terms in there. There's Tom Arnold's Family, where they just come from a place called Crackerland because it's on their hat, and his daughter wants to date a black guy, wants to screw a black guy, and little things like this, and that's just the beginning because it really just feels like a film that was made about people who do not give a fuck about how racist they can be, because they pull out all the stops in this movie, and it's just so offensively bad, it's despicable. And the only time anything Soul Plane gets involved in that actually does get a laugh really doesn't even happen in the movie. It's the fact that the Boondocks made a whole joke about it. You know, the Boondocks consistently makes fun of Soul Plane to the point where they actually had to create a sequel within the movie that probably would have been a whole lot better than the actual movie was. That and Get Rich or Die Trying, considering that, 50 Shades of Grey is involved in there. And of course, from one of my favorite TV episodes of all time, where Martin Luther King Jr., what if he didn't die? He saw what present day was like. He's making that speech at the end, and then all of a sudden, while he's speaking, it just cuts away to him going, and now I'd like to talk about Soul Plane. It's just like, you could tell how much the people who made the Boondocks really hated Soul Plane. And if an animated series is parodying a movie that's actually getting more laughs than the animated series in the actual movie, there's a huge, huge problem here. I mean, we just talked about Welcome to Mooseport. You know, one of the is that joke in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. That's the only way that movie's ever going to get relevancy ever again. But and like I said before, look at what happened to the cast of this movie. You would think that the careers for this movie would have been tarnished by everybody involved here. But like, you know, Kevin Hart, he stars in the movie, and guess what happens? Does his career end? No. He actually goes on to become one of the biggest box office stars on the planet. He actually became more of a popular comedian after that, and he became such a reliable draw with films like Ride Along, Central Intelligence, the Jumanji movies. I mean, the guy, I mean, yeah, it's just one person, but then again, like I said, Monique, you know, she was on a very popular UPN show at the time, The Parkers. Surely that destroyed her career, and then I just realized that she got an Oscar for Precious, and you know, Sofia Vergara, you see her there as one of the stewardesses. She was a rising comedic actress in America, you know, after 6 years in Spanish television. And then this comes out, and then she never went on to become anything big except for a prominent Emmy-nominated role on Modern Family 2. I mean, that's just, it's amazing how this movie could have easily destroyed so many careers, and yet it doesn't. In the long run, it really actually did quite the opposite, which is amazing to think about when you think about movies that are on this level of disaster that could easily destroy a career easily. We were in the midst of this point when Ben Affleck's career pretty much got destroyed before he eventually made his comeback. It's just like, but the fact that people actually came back from this movie, had bigger careers than ever before, you really can't say anything else except holy shit, hell is frozen over. You can actually come back from one of the most offensively bad movies ever made. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Fire and brimstone, earthquakes, volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I think you got the point. But does that make Soul Plane any good? No. But do you think it does more good for the world than bad? You think any of these people or anybody in this movie would have still found success even if this was even after such a massive fail on their part? We will never really know for sure, but it certainly is out of the realm of possibility. But I don't know. To me, I think most people can agree Soul Plane is still an insult to cinema that really does treat black people poorly, treats good comedy poorly, it treats these actors poorly. It's a cheap joke that has no merit or value to it whatsoever. After it's all said and done, it's just a really bad movie. It's in my top 20 for the worst movies ever made. That should tell you everything you need to know about this film. I mean, I pretty much covered it right there. I mean, not much more to say about this one except that, yeah, half the people that were in this movie where their careers could have easily ended, actually had their careers, flourish at this point. I mean, one of the stars of this movie is an Academy Award winner. I mean, who would have thought that? I mean, but you get the idea here. Soul Plane, there's really nothing else I can really add to this that hasn't already been said already. It's a bad movie. It's one of the worst comedies ever made. One of the most offensive movies ever made. Yeah, it's a bad movie. It's my 19th worst movie of all time. So hopefully by the time next week comes around on this show, I will be back to sounding normal. But if you want to hear what I had to say about Old Dogs last week, go ahead and check out the link. I'll leave a link to some of the other episodes I've done here. And I will see you guys next time. So until then, take care.